happy to have you on the show, Ryan. You've been an entrepreneur for more than 18 years. You've worked as COO at Proof and then at Moonbirds, and now you're the founder and investor of 121G Fund. Happy to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be on the show. Excited to chit-chat.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your backstory, and how you got into NFTs?
Yeah, you bet. I'm going to take you back in time and tell you a story from my high school years. So I was lucky to have my dad bring home an Apple IIe computer in, I'd say like 1987. Okay. And you know, I started playing with it, started playing games. It just had a green screen, but it had a command prompt. And so you could type commands. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was fascinating. And then over time, I used it a little bit more. And then in high school, which in the US is, you know, age kind of 15 to 18-ish. My high school teacher tapped me on the shoulder and said, Ryan, I think you should take our computer programming class. And I was like, what's computer programming? She said, oh, it's where you tell the computer what to do and it does it. And I was like, wow, okay, that sounds amazing. And so I took my first computer programming class. I learned Pascal and built little programs that would do things like book tickets on flights, and just kind of interesting things like that. So fell in love with computers and then decided to study computer science. So after college, I wanted just to have an adventure. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to move somewhere, see what happens. And I decided to move to England. I grew up in Colorado in America. So I moved to England and didn't know anybody. I knew one person in the entire country.
Perfect.
And it was scary, but fun and good. And I was a web developer as a job. And the more I used the web, you know, the more I got excited about building my own software. And then I was really inspired by a company called 37 Signals, or they're called Basecamp now. Okay. And I saw them launch Basecamp and saw it become this huge success. It's a project management tool. And so I thought, you know what, I can build software. And so I noticed that we had a problem where we couldn't send files that were over 2 megs. Okay. So this is 2004, you know, you couldn't send very large files.
True.
And we needed to do that at work. And so I thought, you know, I bet I can solve this problem. And so I built a simple tool to do that, and then decided to leave my job, get married, and start a company. Awesome. And that was in 2004. And that was kind of my journey into tech. And then I just started companies. I've started 3 or 4 companies. My last one was acquired last December. And the way I got into crypto was first with Bitcoin. So I can't remember what year it was. It was a long time ago. I bought some Bitcoin on Mt. Gox, which is sad because Mt. Gox got hacked and it's all gone. So whatever I had in Bitcoin is gone. And then I bought some more Bitcoin on Coinbase a long time ago as well. And I forgot about it. And since then, you know, I started playing around with cryptocurrencies. You can actually create your own ERC20, you know, so I coded one up for fun. I think I called it like Carson coin, just to see like, how do you do this? Like, how does this actually work? And you know, coded that up, found it interesting. And then one of my good friends is named Kevin Rose, who started Dig and then went on to become a very successful venture capitalist and entrepreneur. He and I have been friends for a long time. Yeah. And he was the first investor in Treehouse, which was my last company, which taught computer science and programming. And so he and I were talking, and he launched the Proof podcast. It was actually Modern Finance was the first podcast. And I started listening and chatting to him. And then he said, hey, like, this is going to change the world. You should pay attention. And I did. And so, you know, the moment I knew that NFTs were going to change the world is when Kevin had a guy named DC Investor on his show, and he explained NFTs. And I was like, wow, this is going to change the world.
What's DC Investor?
DC Investor is a popular Twitter account, and he's known for investing in NFTs, and he's kind of a big name in the space.
Okay. He owns also. Yeah, I saw a video of him and his NFT collection, I guess. So yeah.
Yep, he has a pretty monumental collection. He owns Fidenzas and autoglyphs and ringers and all the best stuff. Punks, etc. So I kind of got onboarded onto the industry through Kevin Rose, and then after I sold my last company, I had extra time, and I thought, you know what, it'd be amazing to join Proof.
Of course.
And so I joined Proof as the COO and helped launch Grails and Moonbirds. So that's the way I got into this wild industry.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, Kevin Rose is a super successful entrepreneur, and you've been friends. That's really, really cool. You got into I didn't understand, did you get into NFTs through him, or did he tell you about this? Okay, cool. So pretty impressive that you got into NFTs then, worked side by side with him. And Proof and Moonbirds, those are two very big projects, obviously, and I'm sure some people don't know that. Maybe you can spend 1 or 2 sentences on those projects as well, or maybe,
So Proof is a collective of 1,000 people that deeply care about art and NFTs and collecting.
Okay.
So it was started by Kevin, and it launched in December of 2021, and minted at 1 ETH.
Yeah.
It was a Dutch auction that started at 5, went down to 1.
Okay.
And it was just it's a very tight-knit community of collectors. And so once I joined that, then I realized, gosh, I'd love to actually help Kevin and Justin build this.
Mm-hmm.
And so then asked, hey, well, why don't I come on board officially as your COO and help you boot this up?
Okay.
And so then I came on as a full-time employee. And what we decided is that we needed a PFP, or a profile picture collection. And a lot of the Proof members wanted to represent themselves, as a PFP, not as a card.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just decided to come up with a 10,000 supply collection, and did a lot of work on mechanics and the token model and lease model and the value model, and thankfully it went on to become one of the more successful projects in the space.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you for the rundown. And then after leaving Proof and Moonbirds, you started as an investor and founder of 121G. The value proposition is that's the NFT venture fund you wish you could go back in time and invest in. So I really love that. How did you start or came onto this idea to go onto the investor side of things, and like what was your reasoning behind that?
So when I was building my companies, over the last 18 years, we raised venture capital for several times, and so I had been on the founder side of that, and when my last company was acquired, I thought it would be really interesting and fun and exciting to be on the other side of that and become an investor. I felt like I could offer a lot of value to founders, and then I got swept up into the Web3, NFT crypto world, and before I joined Proof, actually, I decided, I think I'm going to launch a fund.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be a huge fund, but it would be really fun to do that. And so talked to Kevin about it, and he said, no problem, just do it on the side.
Okay.
And so I actually booted up 121G while I was at Proof. But the interesting thing is, I don't think any of us expected Moonbirds to be so big.
Okay.
We thought it would be a good project, but we didn't think it would just blow up into this huge project.
Yeah.
And so I think once it was clear that Moonbirds and Proof were going to become very large companies, I think Kevin and Justin and I just sat down and had a talk and said, I think that I want to run my fund full time, and I
Yeah.
think you need a COO who's, prepared to build this huge company with you. And so why don't we stay friends, and I can cheer you on from the sideline.
Yeah.
But why don't I step back and run my fund full time? And it's great. We all agreed on that, and we're still friends today.
That's cool. That's cool. And you said that no one expected the project to be so big, and it became like it blew up. And like, what does big mean in kind of numbers in terms of ETH price or like NFT prices? So for the ones that haven't checked, I mean, yeah.
So it's been a while since I've looked at the total volume of Moonbirds, but I believe it was, I'm just actually going to look to make sure I say the correct number here.
I checked the floor price, so the price of the cheapest NFT, and I think it's 10 ETH, which is 12 to 13 thousand dollars per piece.
And so we've done the project's done 173,000 ETH in volume. So 173 times, let's say ETH is $1,300. You're looking at $250 million. Yeah. $225 million at today's prices. So it's got prices, big.
It was probably bigger since the price wasn't at, like, I don't know the ETH price when it minted, but it's pretty big. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. ETH, I think, was, between $3,000 and $4,000 when we minted in April.
Yeah.
So, it was exciting to be inside of that. And it was like catching lightning in a bottle.
Of course.
And I learned a lot. So really enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, let's maybe jump into the stage or your job as an investor and into your day-to-day, and maybe you have a kind of like a routine or life hack that you would love to share with the listeners as an investor, and after you've done all those stuff. So how does your day-to-day look like?
So I get up at 5 a.m. every day.
So
and I like the mornings. It's quiet. I've always been a morning person, so get up at 5, and then I kind of get dressed, and then I meditate for 10 minutes. I use an app called Headspace that I like, and I'm just learning how to do that. I've been meditating for about, I think, maybe 8 months, something like that. So I'm just working on being more present and aware, and I enjoy that. And then I'll do about half an hour of work, clear email, get my tasks straight. And then I go and work out for an hour from 6 to 7. And then come back and I hang out with the family, have breakfast, say goodbye to the kids when they go to school.
Of course.
And then kick off work at about 9 a.m. And then my day, I spend the first 2 hours researching new projects, new investments, also studying the market and what's going on, digging into numbers and just, absorbing information. I have an associate who works with me at the fund, and he brings up news stories, every day. And so we do that for 2 hours. And then I do a Twitter space now every day. It's called the NFT Daily Dose, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And just, it's a lot of fun. We get typically about, 12 to 1,500 plays per episode per day. And
solid.
It's a lot of fun. And so that space is all about, NFT news, the market news. We drop a POAP usually, which is an NFT that's called a proof of attendance protocol, which means you attended something.
True, yeah.
We're going to be announcing something really big and exciting in 2023.
Yeah.
And so the way that people are going to get access to that is by collecting these POAPs.
Yeah.
So we've got a really passionate group of people that are stacking POAPs, which is really fun. And then I go on to do, lunch usually. And then I have then meetings. Like I would say the biggest piece of advice I can give anybody in business or crypto or anything professionally is networking. And so what I've learned, my mom had me read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
No, this one.
And it sounds terrible, right? It sounds like a terrible book, like kind of evil. But all it really says is that, if you are interested in other people, then good things happen.
Of course.
And so that's very simple. I try to be interested in people and I try to be helpful. And then, good things sometimes come back. And so it's very kind of like a karma thing. So I have a lot of meetings where I just get to know people and say, hey, can you tell me your story? And how can I be helpful? And then, in the end, usually those things come back to help sometimes they don't. But that has opened up so many doors for me.
Definitely, yeah.
So I do a lot of meetings. And then, then there's a lot of meetings about investments that we're thinking about making. So I spend a lot of time on Zoom with founders. And I tweeted, if anyone goes to my Twitter profile, which is just twitter.com/Ryan Carson, the pinned tweet.
The pinned one, yeah.
Thank you. The pinned tweet is a thread that I wrote about how I think about investing.
Yeah.
The strategies I use and the mechanisms that I use. But a lot of it is about people, reading people and understanding people and being able to pattern match on people. It's a lot of fun. I mean, so my job is really fun. I basically get investors who commit capital. I then take that capital, I buy ETH, then I use that ETH to then pick good project founders, and then we go and sweep the project floor.
Yeah.
And then I meet with the project founders on a regular basis, usually monthly, to support them and help them, and then look for ways that I can, make the project better and increase awareness.
Of course.
And then we hold for up to 4 years. So it's a 4-year closed-end venture capital fund. So
okay, cool.
That's my job. I love it.
Yeah, of course. I saw you also saying in this tweet that you love I think your strength lies in reading people and kind of a video call is the least go-to thing or the must for you to kind of get kind of the grasp of the personality and the person, I guess. So love this one as well.
Yeah, I mean, in real life is the best, and then next best is Zoom.
Yeah.
But the worst is direct messaging, right? Where you just can't read anything. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. All right. Very nice input. Love it so far. How about the investment thesis and the story behind 121G and of course you have started it because you were an entrepreneur as well, like for many years. You have a great experience, but why are you so convinced of this market and bullish about the space maybe?
So I think that the blockchain will fundamentally change humanity. And the reason why is because we've never had a immutable, global, decentralized ledger before, right? So, and the world operates on ledgers, right? And you have a bank ledger, you have accounting ledgers, we need a record, right, of who owns what. And there's never been a globally decentralized, immutable version of that, And so I think as soon as Ethereum and Bitcoin were created, I think it changed the world forever. Yeah. And so that's where we're going. I don't think anyone can stop it now. It's just like when the internet appeared, right? And then when the web appeared, and then when e-commerce appeared and social media appeared, like no one could stop these things.
True.
And so now this is why we call it Web 3, right? The next version of the web, and it's really of technology, is here. We're very early, and there is no mass adoption yet, and a lot of people don't understand blockchain or crypto, or they think it's a scam, or they think it's used for illicit activities, or they think it's all of that. But we're going to get to the point where every asset on the planet is tokenized and put on the blockchain. And as we get there, then the entire economy will shift to transact on that blockchain. We're starting to see things like houses being sold on the blockchain. In the last week, we saw a house get sold as an NFT. So the idea of non-fungible tokens, being the digital record of assets, really makes sense. I mean, it makes much more sense to when you buy a dress from Louis Vuitton, and if Louis Vuitton makes dresses, let's say Chanel. So say you buy a really nice Chanel dress, and then you sell it, and then it turns out that Kim Kardashian buys it, and then eventually Kim Kardashian sells it, and then another famous person buys it. Understanding the provenance of that and who actually owned it and where it was and is valuable and interesting. That's thing one. But a more practical use case is your deed on your house. You really should be able to understand who owns this house, what is the data, instead of this kind of cryptic paper system we have now,
which is way too complicated. Definitely takes so long.
Forever. So I'm excited that we'll get there. It's going to take a little time. I would say 10 years from now is when we'll fully be adopted onto the blockchain. But that's why it's so fun to be an investor right now.
Definitely.
It's like I get to go back in time and invest in 1998, right? And get in companies like Google and Amazon and Facebook, and that's the opportunities we have right now because we're so early. There's going to be a lot that go out of business, but there's going to be many that become world-changing companies.
The space is so innovative, and you can basically be the next innovator or move the space forward. It's evolving every day in a new kind of direction, and you have so much opportunity lying there, right? So it's not like you're going out and opening a cafe which already exists like a billion times, but you're kind of shaping the space, and as you said, you have the chance to go back in time and start big value creation all over again, which is kind of cool. Let's maybe also dive a little bit into the structure of the investment fund and how it works, and how have you raised money from investors, and maybe also how big the fund is.
Sure. So it's a traditional United States venture capital fund. We have international investors though. We have investors from all over the world, so you don't have to be a U.S. citizen. It's managed through AngelList, so they do all of our admin. And the legal structure is very typical. It's a Delaware partnership, and we have a standard 2% management fee and 20% carry. So very kind of vanilla venture capital sort of structure. The difference is that we really only buy NFTs. So the fund is designed from a legal perspective to own digital assets, which most funds are not allowed to do. And most funds can only hold about 20% of their assets in digital tokens. So we're sort of designed to do that. And that was, so cool. It's very cutting edge. And exciting to be able to do that. We will end up also buying equity, but we're mostly buying ERC 721s, NFTs. And so the way that we raise, it's a quarterly fund. And so LPs commit their capital every quarter, and they commit to 4 quarters. And the fund is really small right now. It's only about $4 million. But I think we're going to start growing very quickly in the new year. So right now we're just focusing on how can we find the best founders,
of course,
and then when once the markets turn around and capital begins to flow, then I'm sure we'll be able to raise a lot of money very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And you said like most people or most funds can only hold like 20% of their assets in digital assets. So you're kind of like,
Correct.
Yeah, something special, I would say. But how many other funds do exist that have like 100% of the investment funds in?
Not many.
Not many.
I mean,
only a handful.
I would say, yeah, only a handful. My gut instinct is maybe 10 to 20 in the whole world.
Wow.
But there's really only I would say like 5 that are really leading the way. And it's a very small, tight-knit group of people.
Are those the ones that already are like big VCs in real world that created like subsidiaries or like companies?
No, not really.
No? Okay.
Most, one of the better known funds is run by 6529, which is a person that is a crypto punk on Twitter.
Yeah.
No, but there's not that many.
Yeah.
Collab Currency is another great one. Curated is another great one. Okay. So there's not that many.
Interesting.
Spencer Ventures is another good one. So yeah, the space is small, and 121G is one of those players. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Definitely. Yeah, and since you started so new, are you already in the green or in the red as the market is, or how's the outlook?
It depends on depends on the day. It's very volatile right now. So sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down.
Definitely.
And so we have to think long term.
Sure.
I mean, we're a 4-year fund, so some of our investments are currently down, but I know that they'll swing back up, and then some of them are already up.
Yeah.
So I'm very bullish on our long term future. I mean, because as a venture capitalist, the only way I make money really is if the fund is profitable.
Sure.
Yes, you make a management fee, but it's not why you do it.
Definitely.
So really my success is dependent on the success of the fund.
Definitely. And you said you're only investing into NFTs and sometime in the future also into equity. But what if the NFT project or infrastructure project doesn't have an NFT? Do you still make kind of like an investment, or how does it work?
Not usually. Okay. We tend to focus mostly on NFTs, but as the market develops, we're seeing more opportunities to get equity and NFTs. Okay. And so that's exciting and interesting. Mm-hmm. One of the big questions right now is, how does profit and revenue and value that is accruing to the company and the equity then flow to the NFT holders? Yeah. Right. Because there's no legal connection. True. Right. And so we're looking for projects that are thinking about, how to accrue value back to the NFT holders, not just the equity holders. Yeah. I think in the end, it'll probably make sense to own both. Yeah. You own a piece of equity and you own a chunk of NFTs.
Definitely.
So I think one thing that we can do that traditional VC firms can't do is we can buy NFTs, like I said. And it's interesting because a lot of projects and companies want their investors to buy their NFTs because they need that support, but they can't do it. Yeah. So it's fun to be able to do that.
Of course, and like when you're a really big fund and I don't know, announce that you're maybe making an investment and I think you have a lot of power, I guess. And like, yeah, maybe also moving market since it's like a small market anyway, I would say, and like, especially during these times, but as it grows, obviously it's going to be harder. Yeah. Maybe let's talk about people and projects you invest in. And I also read your thread that your pinned tweet that you tweeted out. What kind of personalities or people do you look for when you are making an investment decision?
So I look for investors that have experience. So ideally they've shipped real world product before, or manage teams, or manage large budgets. I also look for the ability for them to gather attention.
Okay.
We very much live in an attention war.
Definitely.
Constantly. And so I look for their ability to do that. I also look for their ability to adapt.
Okay.
And this is why it's hard. You have to be able to kind of read people and see how mentally elastic they are.
Of course.
And they need to be mentally elastic. And so I think if those things are coming together, then, I look at some additional things. The art, what is the art like of the NFT? What is the vision for the project? What's their long-term plan?
Yeah.
So for instance, we recently bought into a project called Pudgy Penguins.
Yeah. No.
And that was because I met the founder, Luca, on a Zoom call, and we went really deep, and he has vast experience as an entrepreneur, and he's been very successful. And so you basically say, well, okay, this person has had past success. That doesn't mean they're going to have future success.
Sure.
But it gives them a chance.
Definitely.
And then you make the call and invest in. So, I look at projects like Tableland, which we've invested in, obviously Moonbirds, which I believe in.
Yeah.
Tiger Bob, Ledger, On-Chain Monkey, Martian Premier League. All of these are teams that I want to bet on.
Definitely.
And some of these will work and some of them won't.
Yeah.
But I think that they have a good chance.
Yeah. And like, what's another question? Maybe, what kind of NFT projects are you generally bullish on, without calling some names? So what's the ingredient for success in your opinion?
So there's no specific formula. All the projects are very different.
Yeah.
But one of the key things that matters is, can the project build a passionate long-term community? And the interesting thing is, it's actually hard to build a community of 10,000.
Definitely.
Which is the standard, supply count in a PFP project. It's much easier to build a community of 1,000 people. And this is what we did at Proof, right? We really built this strong community that was deeply invested and deeply cared about the project. And then we layered things on top of that. So Moonbirds was launched on top of that community.
Yeah.
And I think I look for that. Can these founders create a community that's passionate, that will support them long term?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Now, there's this idea of a utility NFT, and all that really means is it's a company, right? And so if there's no utility, then it's an art-based project, and that's different.
Yeah.
But generally, we look for utility-based projects because we're basically angel investing.
Sure.
Now we started to buy a little bit of art, so we bought 3 QQL passes, which is an art-based project by Tyler Hobbs and Dan Lyon.
Yeah.
And that was more a bet on an artist that I think long-term will be important and interesting. We also bought a 1-of-1 from an artist named Justin Aversano. I think he's going to be one of the most, important, influential photographers in the NFT space. And so we do a little bit of fine art, I would say, and then the rest is utility-based projects, which are essentially companies. So it varies wildly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw the photography piece with the twin brothers. I don't remember their name, but how are they called again? I think
it was the Winklevoss
twins.
Winklevoss
twins. Yeah.
And the twins that started Nifty Gateway.
Yeah, and Winklevoss started this exchange called Gemini, right?
Yep, and they were some of the founders of Facebook as well.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's where they initially, got their fame, and then they went on to do a lot of Bitcoin So the photo is very interesting, and I thought it would be historical.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and the goal is then to potentially open up that vault of valuable art in 4 years and then auction it off.
Nice.
And that's the investment thesis.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right, cool. Let me check my questions. And your deals are coming in through Inflow, I guess through your employee you have, and then also network. Yeah, network. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we do. We did I think 5 or 6 episodes of a show called NFT Whale Tank.
Yeah.
And it was really just a fun show and a fun way to get good projects on stage, ask them good questions, and kind of help the industry learn how to ask questions like an investor. It also helped us identify good projects.
Yeah.
And through that, you know, we ended up investing in Martian Premier League, On-Chain Monkey, and Omega Runners.
Yeah.
So that's been a good source of deal flow for us. Yeah. But now most of my deal flow is coming through DMs. You know, and you know, this is why networking and building relationships is the key to everything.
Okay.
You know,
cool.
You know, it's just like this call. Hey, we're spending an hour together. Now I know you. You know me.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, that's much more significant than just, you know, some person that DMs you that says, hey, I want to pitch you my project.
Yeah, sure.
So that's the way the world works.
Definitely. And doing like favor to people and basically like supporting, I think, the community and putting yourself out, getting to know people, talking to them, and not expecting something initially, I guess, or it just happens when the vibe is
help
right,
people.
Right? Help people. Yeah, definitely. Yep. I also watched like one episode of the NFT Whale Tank you were just talking about. I can't remember the name of the project, but I think you didn't mention it a second ago that you invested into it. But it was like a film project from a person that worked, I guess, at Amazon for a while and had like this kind of background.
Oh yeah,
the sound was pretty not so good. I remember.
That was called I think Sunset Boulevard or Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I think that's run by Roy Price, and I think there's something big there. But you know, we gave him some feedback on the business model, and it was very interesting. You know, the idea is people are building the studios of the future.
Yeah, sure.
And I think he will be successful.
Yeah.
Eventually, but we did invest in a similar project called Omega Runners. And again, that's all based on the team. The idea is, gosh, this team has literally made movies for Netflix before. You know, crazy, and they understand what they're doing.
Definitely.
You know, they have $50 million of capital to back them up. Like, this is a good team to bet on. And so that's kind of my thesis. You know, what feels like a good solid bet. And then how can I support that team and hopefully help them be successful?
Yeah. And did you I also remember Lydia on the show, on the same one. Did you also have like other people and other investors during your episodes, or like how did it go?
We did. So we did 3 live episodes in Las Vegas.
Awesome.
And so I spoke at a conference called Web3 Expo.
Yeah.
And so on stage, we did a live version of this.
Funny.
And it was a lot of fun. And so Pio, who's a big name in the space, was there. Zeneca was a whale. Crypto Von Doom, and Drew, Barman. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, but also probably draining or something, like intense, like this week, right? You said on Twitter.
It was intense, but it was good fun.
I mean, Vegas is a good place to do so.
Very tiring.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time. Do you have anything you would love to add before we wrap things up?
No, if you want to, except for saying if anybody wants to chat, I'm on Twitter all the time. I'm just twitter.com/Ryan Carson. And My DMs are open, and would love it if people stop by NFT Daily Dose. It's every day at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So stop on by and say hi.
We'll definitely also share it in the comments down below. So I hope to get some more views on this one as well. Thank you so much, Ryan.